everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I am with Aaron, and he is from Hoffman and Forde, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about trust and estate planning and just some information. He is a real estate attorney, so he's got a lot of good information for anyone who's a homeowner or a potential homeowner he's going to share with us. Aaron, if you want to do a little intro, I'd love for you to take it from here.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Aaron Hughes. I am a real estate business and estate planning attorney here in San Diego. Like she said, my firm is Hoffman and Forde. We're a smaller boutique firm kind of located in the Bankers Hill area right across the street from Balboa Park. As Carolyn was saying, estate planning is a great tool to use, especially for new home buyers, people who have families and children. You want to make sure that your assets that you're here in California, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on are protected. So estate planning is a good way to do that. And we'll talk a little bit about what options you have in the estate planning process, some things to avoid, and just kind of answer any general questions that Carolyn has regarding, purchases or anything like that.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Would you just go into a brief overview for anyone who doesn't know what is estate planning and what are some of the things that are included in it?
Yeah, so we take a holistic approach to our estate planning. Some firms will do it piecemeal or document by document, but we look at it as a holistic kind of full plan for you and your family to protect your assets should something happen to you. So the estate plan that we feature includes several documents that are all used in conjunction together to create that plan. So part of the estate plan, the main document is the trust. Generally, in most cases, we'll do a revocable trust. That means that it's fully amendable and you can revoke it at any time during your lifetime. So if things change throughout your life, you purchase another property, you have another child, all of those things can be fully amended throughout the process. So the trust is the main document that we use. It lists all of the beneficiaries that you have, all of your wishes regarding the distribution of your assets, the powers that you would have as trustee. And it's really the document that we use to avoid the probate process. So here in California, probate is a long, drawn-out, expensive process that having a trust is really the only way to avoid. Right now, especially with the courts at the way that they are, even a simple probate can last a year or more, and tens of thousands of dollars in fees depending on the size of your estate.
Okay, give us an example or give us a little bit more detail on what is probate.
Yeah, so probate is the legal process to determine your heirs after you pass away, should you die without a will or with a will. So even having a will not protect you from the probate process. You'll still have to go through and deal with that entire legal process. Probate itself, like I said, is drawn out, so we try to avoid it at all costs. But throughout the process, you'll, depending on the situation, you'll be appointed as an executor for a family member's estate. You'll go through the process. You'll have to track all of the assets that they have, all of the debts that they have, pay off those debts, distribute assets. It's a long, kind of drawn out process. So we try to avoid it at all costs.
Yeah, and what's one of the reasons that probate costs so much money versus having the trust already in place?
So the fees through the probate process are statutory. So they're by statute. Attorneys can only get paid for probate proceedings through those statutory fees. So it's a graduated scale. It starts at very minimum amounts. So if your estate is worth $100,000, the minimum you would pay is $4,000, and then it's graduated. So even a modest home here in California, San Diego area, you're looking at probably $10,000 to $12,000 at the minimum of fees for the probate process.
Okay, and then what is the general cost of setting up a trust?
So we charge a flat fee for our trust, and it kind of depends on the situation. So it ranges anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000, $2,500, depending on the situation.
So compared to that, I don't know anyone right now who owns a place that's $100,000 or less. So you're already in the end going to save at least minimum $2,000. But usually, do you see savings that are more in the $10,000 comparatively?
Yeah, of course. So I mean, the way that I kind of lay it out for my clients is you're spending a little bit of money up front, but it's giving you that peace of mind moving forward that you're not going to have to worry about that probate process and worry about those additional fees that you may have to pay.
Awesome. So who would you recommend would be someone who should set up a trust?
Yeah, so there's a common misconception that trusts are for the wealthy, or that they're for succession planning, and then those are true, but it's like I said, it's a misconception. Anybody who owns a home in California should have a trust. Anybody who has a child here should have a trust. You want to make sure that your assets are protected, that your wishes are protected, and that your beneficiaries, heirs, and children are all protected. So I recommend a trust to anybody who owns a piece of property here in California.
Okay. And this I'm going to put you on the spot for. So
Sure.
if you could answer, do you think are some of the misconceptions, the common misconceptions you get, or maybe common questions you get about people who don't really know what a trust is, or people first setting up a trust?
Yeah, so one of the biggest misconceptions that people have is that the trust is a separate entity, and you get protection from creditors, and in certain situations, a trust can be those things. However, for the general person who's looking to get the protection and protect their assets, the common misconception is that a trust is separate. And in a sense it is, but for the most part, a trust will only protect you in certain situations from creditors and liability protection.
So it's not about protecting your assets. The trust is really about protecting the asset once you pass away.
Correct. Yeah. So during the lifetime, the person who's setting up the trustor, creates the trust. They act as the trustee during their lifetime, meaning that they're able to manage the trust, revoke the trust, make amendments to the trust. And then at their passing, the trust then kicks in as that document where a successor trustee is named, they're appointed, and then that person then takes over and administers the estate.
Okay. What would you do in a situation where someone has a trust and they have properties in it, or maybe do you have one trust that has multiple properties, or would you have a separate trust for each property? And then following that, if you could speak a little bit about what if you want to sell a property while it's in a trust?
Yeah, so generally, each trust will hold however many properties that you own. So you want to keep everything under the name of the one trust to have all of your assets included in that. For example, if you were to purchase a piece of property and forget to change the title name to the name of the trust, that property itself may have to go through that probate process separately from the trust administration. So it's good to include all of the assets that you have into the trust as the title owner of the property. So it's relatively simple to sell a property in the trust. It goes through the normal sale. The owner of the property is the trust itself. So the trust would be selling the property. It's very similar to just a normal residential sale.
Yeah. Easy peasy then.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so because you have the trust set up in a way where you can amend it, then also in the same line of thinking, if you were to purchase another property, adding it to the trust, does that cost any additional fees when you make amendments, or is that something that you just pay the flat fee and then throughout time you would be able to manage it?
Yeah. So any amendments will be an additional fee generally at an hourly rate. But usually small amendments and changes to the trust are relatively cheap, moving forward. So if you do just, a client does decide to purchase a new piece of property, it's a simple addition to the trust and a transfer of the asset if it hasn't been already to the name of the trust.
Okay, awesome. And then I just kind of want to go into what other aspects of real estate business planning you do, or estate planning. What do you think some other things that are helpful for homeowners to know, especially people who maybe don't have any estate planning done and just think from what I hear, I get a lot of clients who think, well, I have a will, I don't really need anything else. Everything's in there.
Yeah, so like we were discussing before, a will gives you some protection, but you're still going to have to go through that probate process. So, for those people who don't think they need estate planning, they likely do. You want to be able to have that document in place to protect those assets. So, I would generally advise clients who are purchasing multiple properties to have a trust. There are instances too where we can assist on the business side of things if clients are purchasing investment type properties or multifamily units. We can work with them on forming potentially new companies to hold those assets where the LLC would hold the asset and the trust would be the member of the asset or something similar to that. So okay,
so you'd handle the setup of the LLC as well and then wrap that into the trust.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Awesome. That's perfect. Aaron, would you tell us about some of the other documents that maybe go into estate planning and how the roles that they play?
Sure, yeah. So as I mentioned before, we do a holistic approach. So not only do we provide you with the trust, but we provide you with a will. It's called a pour-over will, which is used in conjunction with the trust. We also provide advanced healthcare directive and a durable power of attorney. So the power of attorney and the healthcare directive are two separate documents that allow you to provide an agent that you would elect with the authority to act on your behalf should something happen to you and you're not able to make those decisions on your own. So the Advanced Healthcare Directive is for medical decisions that provides your agent, which you would elect, the authority to act on your behalf. Within the document, we include all of your wishes regarding end-of-life decisions and palliative care, as well as whether or not you would like to be buried or cremated. All those types of decisions are included in that document.
Okay.
And then the power of attorney is for financial decisions. So you give your agent the authority to act on your behalf for financial decisions, which can range from full authority to make all of your financial decisions for you, or if you wanted to restrict those decisions to certain aspects of your financial life, we could do that as well.
And who do you usually choose? Is it someone that's a member of your family, a friend, or is it just a third party that gets assigned as that?
Generally, in most cases, somebody will elect to have their family member or close friend because they already know that they have their best interests in mind. In some cases, depending on the situation, there could be a professional private fiduciary that we would elect to be your agent, and that's somebody who you would pay a fee and they would make those decisions based off of the documents that you provide them. But in most cases, it's a relative, family member, close friend that you would elect to be your agent.
Okay. Do you have any stories or examples you can give us on times where someone didn't do an estate plan or someone has done an estate plan and either, in the event where they didn't do it, it didn't work out very well, or having the plan like really saved them? I'm sure all cases, it's pretty much like if you have it, it's so much easier. But can you give us any examples?
Yeah, I mean, as far as like an example of when an estate plan, should have been executed, we personally represented a client who was married to her husband. They were recently married. They were in the process of putting together their estate plan. And, during that time, they decided to take a quick vacation, went down to Mexico. And unfortunately, the husband passed away suddenly. And the wife was left, to kind of put the pieces together, and they didn't have the estate plan in place. So, he was very well prepared, and this was the last step that they were looking to take to protect their assets. And unfortunately, it was a freak kind of death that was shocking to everyone. And that would have been a great instance where if they would have taken care of that sooner rather than later, they would have been in a better position. But that client ended up going through the probate process for all the assets, and it took over a year for us to finalize that probate.
Wow. Yeah, it's during the event of a tragedy, especially. I don't think that's something you'd want to deal with.
No, yeah, and that's the main point of it. It's obviously, these decisions are difficult for people to make, during their lifetime, to think about end of life decisions and who they want their assets to go to. But the upfront kind of anxiety about doing that will protect you in the long run. And the faster, the sooner that you can put together that estate plan and have it in place, the more peace of mind that you can have moving forward, that you're protected and your family's protected.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Aaron, are there any other real estate services that you guys handle that you would like to speak upon?
Yeah, so we're a full service real estate firm. We do anything from landlord tenant work all the way up to commercial purchases, including litigation. So, for those home buyers who have questions about the legal documents, obviously the first step is to go and talk to your realtor. But if there's some more complex questions that you have regarding the purchase agreement or disclosures, we can review those with you as well. As far as the kind of breadth of services that we provide, we do a lot of landlord tenant work. So for people who are purchasing investment properties looking to rent those out, we can draft leases for you. We can review the law regarding, when certain things need to occur during a landlord-tenant relationship. So there's a lot of different services that we can provide in addition to the business and estate planning side of things.
So you'd say for that side of the real estate stuff, you generally work with people who are investors more so, or do you work with the whole breadth of any homeowner or potential homeowner?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the situation, but we do have a lot of larger investment clients that are, flippers or, buy and hold type clients that are looking to have some additional income. So, those are the types of clients that we generally work with, but it could be a single family residential purchase that maybe has caused some issues. When you're purchasing a piece of property, you're kind of taking the word of the owner when it comes to the disclosure. So in some cases, what's disclosed is not really what has happened at the property, and there's issues that come up. So we deal with seller non-disclosure cases as well, and then it goes anywhere up to commercial purchases. So we can work with large commercial landlords and people who are looking to invest in multifamily homes.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time, Aaron. I super appreciate it. I know it's a lot of helpful stuff. And if you haven't already done it and you own a home, get a trust. I'll share Aaron's contact information with you, and he'd be happy to help.
Yes, thank you for letting me speak on your little show here, and I appreciate it. If anybody does have any questions, feel free. We do free consultations for most of our legal work. So yeah, feel free to share my information with everyone.
Awesome. Thank you.